So, how did the leaders in the CIA handle failure,
Yeah.
and what lessons would you tell the CEOs in the corporate world
Yeah.
to take those lessons?
So it's one, everyone will fail. Everyone will fail. So just acknowledge that you can be the smartest, the best, the most highly credentialed, have all the degrees from all the amazing schools. There will be a time in your career, and again, it might be big or small, but you will fail. Failure is just a part of the universal human experience, right? There's nothing that makes you uniquely cursed or uniquely sort of bad because you failed. That happens to everyone. But again, it's that cliche of, well, what do you do with that failure? So at the CIA, we got many things wrong. Obviously, we couldn't talk about it publicly, but often, the press would try to make things look really, really bad. But when you get something wrong, when there is a failure or a big setback, don't just let it be a failure or setback that sits there and sort of, sucks the life out of you and your company. Again, what can you learn from that failure, right? There's that great, I think it's Churchill quote where it says, never waste a good crisis. Well, if there was a big failure, what can you learn? Because that's where your company will develop the resilience, right? It's not in being perfect all the time. It's in, okay, well, this is the challenge and this is what we can learn and this is what we're going to do differently because of this challenge. And doing that again and again and again is where the resilience starts to become institutionalized, because then you've got this attitude of, yes, we will have a challenge, we will have a setback, but the things that we do in response to that is what's going to make us stronger in the future. So don't waste a good crisis, big or small. It might be a personnel crisis, or it might be a global pandemic crisis, or it might be anything in between, but don't waste a good failure. So learn from it, capture the lessons from it. And then the next step, which is, again, this can't just be a paper exercise. What do you need to institutionalize to make sure those failures never happen again? Or that you don't get, those blind spots again in the future. And again, this happened at the agency, right? Anytime there was a mission failure or something big that went wrong, yes, we did this analysis. Okay, well, what went wrong and what could we have done differently? Or where did we do everything right and it still went wrong? And then the most important part of that learning process is, well, what are we going to do differently? How are we going to change our structure? How are we going to change our hiring practices? How are we going to change our cash position? How are we going to change, how leveraged we are? How are we going to change, the types of products we offer? Whatever it is for your industry, learn from that and then make sure you implement the learnings in some tangible way in your company so you don't have that same vulnerability in the future.